he offered to be my private lender. He saw what I did with the flip, and he said, if you ever need someone to fund the money, I'm like, people do that?
Yeah,
like, that's
sure.
crazy.
What was the first deal like? Because I know now that you invest in real estate, right? So you got into real estate at some point. What did that first deal look like, and was it successful?
It was great. It was a house. It was a split level house over off Laburnum across from White Oak Shopping Center. And I bought that house for $111,000. And the process of the rehab took me longer because I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I basically had one guy helping me. It wasn't any massive amount of work. Spent about, I'd say, $36,000 in the rehab. And it took longer than it should have, but I ended up selling it for $211.
Wow.
And so it went great. But I realized that while that money was helpful, there was no retirement, there's no pension, there's no 401k, there's nothing for later in life.
Right.
And seeing my mom go through all of this, I'm like, what is going to happen to us later? We're going to be living with the kids. Mm-hmm. So that's when for me, the buy and hold is what I switched over to do.
Where did you find that first deal? Did you have a network at all?
I had a realtor. A realtor, and it was on the MLS. I just found it on the MLS.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew enough to get a realtor, and then they were able to find you a deal, and that was your first deal.
Yep.
But you certainly weren't in any like real estate networking groups at this point. Like you weren't in the game.
I didn't know anything about that. Didn't know where to find them.
Right.
I'd listened to Bigger Pockets. And
that's a good start.
Relentlessly, like to the podcasts, and that's it.
So you did your flip, it worked well, and then you realized you're just giving yourself another job, essentially. I mean, it's good money, but you're giving yourself another job. You knew about the buy and hold game at that point, and then looked in maybe through Bigger Pockets, and then like looked into that.
Right.
How did that look for you?
Right. Yeah. So the next house I got, the majority of the properties I bought early on all came from the MLS. Cool. So the next one I found on the MLS, my realtor friend found it, and I was going to flip that one, thinking we need some more cash. But it was down on Cliff Avenue. It was a great area, but it needed considerable work. And in order to really flip it and make the right money, we needed to really do like hardy plank siding. Right. We needed to do it right. And I didn't have that kind of money because I was using, it's funny, my mom's financial advisor, who I had met with prior to off and on through all of this. He offered to be my private lender. He saw what I did with the flip, and he said, if you ever need someone to fund the money, I'm like, people do that?
Yeah,
like, that's
sure.
crazy. So I took the deal to him. He funded the property. It was $160,000, and I had the money from the rehab that I could use for the rehab. From the flip that I could use for the rehab. But it wasn't enough to fix it up the way it would need to be flipped. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to pull back and I will just fix it up good enough and rent it and hold it. So I asked the financial advisor if he's okay with that. If I don't flip it, he's like, well, as long as I get my money back. Mm-hmm. So I did the cash out refi, and I was able to pay him out. And instead of doing just a single family home, it's a big house, I chopped it up to rooms for rent. And the rooms are huge. So instead of, I probably could have at the time rented that house out for maybe like, I don't know, $1,400 or $1,500 a month, maybe. The rooms for rent, I rent out at $700 a month. So, and it's 5 bedrooms. So right. That was definitely helping me see how you can cash flow, and you can also build towards retirement through the appreciation.